watching the C Corner Speed 252 show. Definitely scroll over to the right and click that subscribe button to become part of this awesome community. What's going on, everyone? Before we get into today's topic regarding the Zora, the Z06, the GrandSport, which are future variants of the C8 Mid Engine Corvette, I first want to talk about you guys. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting my channel from 2017 until now. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, once again, please do so. I also would like to thank each and every one of you who visited my website, bought some merch, and also supported the store, as well as buying merch when you saw me in person. I greatly appreciate it, and it definitely helps out the channel as well. But I want to just give you a big thanks because you guys are the reason why I am here today. And I greatly appreciate each and every one of you for literally taking the time out of your day to watch my video and watch my ads all the way through. I am very grateful for each and every one of you. I mean, literally, hear it in my voice. I am grateful for each and every one of you. So once again, thank you for watching C Corner Speed 252, and thank you for being a part of this community. With that being said, let's talk about some C8 Corvette stuff. As you all know, the C8 Corvette production has stopped due to COVID-19. There's been a lot of speculation on what's going to go on with the new C8 Corvette, whether or not they will continue building 2020s this year or whether they will go ahead and continue to build 2021s. People are wondering whether or not the in 3000 status will receive a 21 car or a 2020 car. Corvette customers just want answers in general. But with that being said, there's been a lot more speculation that's been going on in the world. For instance, for the people who is not considering buying the Stingray, that are considering buying the Z06, which there are tons and tons of Z06 customers out there, I'm sure you all know by now that there's been speculation about when the Z06 will be released, along with the GrandSport, the E-Ray, the Zora, and the ZR1. So it's one of those things where how excited are you guys now hearing about these future variants of the C8 Corvette? Do you feel like you made a great decision by not getting the C8 Stingray just because time has gone by and you could have enjoyed something special? Or do you think you did one of the things you would normally do, which was wait till the Z06 comes out before you hop into the next car? Well, my friend Corvette Blogger also dropped some knowledge on as well that Haggerty seemed to find out. With that being said, this particular document tips off what General Motors could be up to when it comes down to building these new C8 Corvettes. So with that being said, I'm going to play some pictures here in this video so you can also see what I'm talking about. So look at the top of the screen. I just added a new photo for you. You can see year 2021 LT2 6.2, which is currently the same motor that's in my 2020 C8 Stingray right now with 490 horsepower. They say this car pushes out 465 horsepower. Now, this is obviously information that we already know. But for a lot of you that never had the experience to actually be in a C8 Corvette, I can tell you right now that you actually have not driven one. Think about this. I own both the GrandSport and the C8. The C8 drives that much better than the C7 GrandSport. So I can tell you right now, if you own a GrandSport or a Stingray, you will enjoy the C8 Corvette hands down. Now on to the next model, which they say will be leaked, is the Z06. Take a look at the bottom of the screen. Now we have 2021 and 2022. Now in 2022, we all projected that the C8 Z06 will come out during that time, pushing somewhat 600 horsepower. But now this is saying it will push 650 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque, the Corvette Z06 that is. Now the difference between the C7 Corvette Z06 and the C8 Corvette Z06 is that one was a supercharger and the other one seems like it may be naturally aspirated, which will make a big difference between the two cars and how they actually handle and actually perform. Now I'm going to drop some more knowledge on everyone. For the ones that are out there thinking, why would I trade in my C7 Z06 for a base model Stingray? I wouldn't like to go down in horsepower. The C7 Z06 and the C7 Z01 is just a tad bit faster than the C8, which is only pushing 495 horsepower. That's to the crank, not even to the wheel. So with that being said, this mid-engine platform definitely make a big difference between a front engine car and a mid-engine car. Now let's go on to the GrandSport, which a lot of you guys are out there wondering, are there any more information on the GrandSport? Now we are looking into 2023. You see it here, it has an LT2 6.2 hybrid, which you don't see in the Z06. And a lot of you guys are hoping that the Z06 may be a hybrid. There's still a possible chance, but it looks like the GrandSport may be a hybrid version, pushing 600 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque, which in my personal opinion, I always thought the GrandSport lacked horsepower. Now with that being said, I definitely think the 600 horsepower for the GrandSport may be a little bit too much. I think you should probably put 550, 560, something like that, because having the Z06 and the GrandSport that close in horsepower, to me pretty much says you might as well wait till the GrandSport comes out, save a little bit of money between the Z06 and the GrandSport. And the only reason why I say that is because I didn't like how General Motors decided to make the Camaro and the Corvette so close in horsepower, where like you can go get an SS that had 455 horsepower and go get a Stingray that has 460 horsepower. To me, those numbers are just too close for two different types of cars. Now let's get into some meat and potatoes. As we're now looking at the 2024 LT7 5.5 twin turbo ZR1. Now 850 horsepower, 825 foot-pounds of torque. Oh my God, you're talking about something that is ripping the streets. That bad boy is ripping the streets. Now as far as price goes, it's going to be pretty pricey. As you can imagine, a current 2019 ZR1 will cost you probably around $130. Still, possibly $150 depending on the specs, option and things like that, convertible, etc., etc. So at the end of the day, in 2024, to actually see a 850 horsepower come like that from the factory is going to be a monster on the streets. My question to you is, do you think this car will be able to put that much power down to the ground? Now we're looking into 2025 when an LT7 twin turbo hybrid pushing 1,000 horsepower, 975 foot-pounds of torque for Corvette Zora. Now come on guys, this doesn't sound incredible to you. I don't know what does, but if you can imagine that the 2024 model going to cost you probably $130,000, $150,000, imagine what Corvette Zora is going to cost you. On top of that, I got a good feeling that the Corvette Zora is only going to go out to a certain amount of people. They're not going to build pretty much a lot of these cars for Corvette Zora. I think unless you got some good like inside tips in General Motors, you know some people, you can make some connections, you may end up getting a Zora, or unless you could be, have a crap ton of money laying around and you probably end up getting a Zora after all. But I got a good feeling they're not going to build too many of those. They want to keep that car pretty special before they decide to release that many out to the world. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know the exact answer to that. But what do you guys think of a 1,000 horsepower car coming from the factory with a warranty? That to me sounds nuts, especially thinking about putting all that power down to the ground. When on an everyday basis, really all you need is about 400 to 500 horsepower in the first place. So let me do you all another favor, and I can guarantee you, you will not see this in nobody else's YouTube video, which is the information I have in front of you now. And I know a lot of you guys know I have connections and things like that. But with that being said, look at this sheet. Now this information is a little bit different from the information I just provided to you before. So this sheet is pretty much giving you the C8 models, which is the Corvette Stingray, the Corvette GrandSport, the Corvette E-Ray, which wasn't on the last couple of documents I showed you. Now the Corvette Z06, the Corvette ZR1, and then Corvette Zora. As you can see with the Corvette Stingray, you still have the 6.2 V8, which is pushing 495 horsepower, 465 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a rear-wheel drive. We all know that. This sheet also shows the Corvette GrandSport. It shows it a 6.2 liter V8, but now this one is saying it's 510 horsepower and 490 foot-pounds of torque, and this will also be a rear-wheel drive. Let's stay on the GrandSport for a few seconds. Now I do believe 510 horsepower is right about the amount that it should have for the Corvette GrandSport. It should not have 600 horsepower, which is pretty much close to the Z06, but it should definitely have more horsepower than the Stingray. I think we all can agree to that. Now let's get to the E-Ray, which in this sheet it shows the GrandSport and the E-Ray being two different cars, while the last sheet showed the E-Ray and the GrandSport being same, pretty much identical cars. Now it's saying the E-Ray is pushing 600 horsepower and 575 foot-pounds of torque, but it is an all-wheel drive, which is completely different from the GrandSport and the Stingray. Now, how many of y'all is considering buying the E-Ray? Now on to the Corvette Z06 on this sheet, which says it's a 5.5 V8, but it's pushing 600 horsepower, while the last sheet says it's pushing 650 horsepower and it's pushing 500 or 550 foot-pounds of torque, when the last sheet said it was pushing somewhere around 600 foot-pounds of torque because it was pushing 650 horsepower. But it's now saying it's a rear-wheel drive as well. So it sounds to me the Z06 won't be hybrid at all, which sort of kind of makes sense. Now on to the Corvette ZR1, which is 5.5 twin turbo, 850 horsepower, 750 foot-pounds of torque, and rear-wheel drive. And on to the Corvette Zora, which is 5.5 twin turbo V8 plus hybrid, pushing 1,000 horsepower, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and it's also an all-wheel drive. Now here's a lot of good information that I want you to take in and consider. Which one of these Corvette models are you currently waiting for? If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, definitely please do so. I would love to have you part of this community. Thank you for watching and catching another episode of Seagull on Speed 252.